Governor Pete Ricketts has made it clear property tax relief on the farm, priority number one. We caught up with him during his travels of the state to talk about that and some other agricultural issues.
We must prioritize property tax relief. It is my number one priority.
Well, Governor, I hear it every day, you hear it every day, property taxes. But you try to make the case, I think, commodity prices are down, yet taxes are going up, and that's has some pretty serious consequences for our state, right?
Last year we made great progress by increasing the property tax credit relief fund by over 45%. So we'll deliver $408 million in direct dollar-for-dollar property tax relief. Now what we have to do is move on to how can we address structural issues with regard to property tax. And so our proposal will benefit all property owners, residential, commercial, and ag land, by helping encourage local governments to control the growth of their spending and taking some of the exemptions that have been there in the past for levy limits and putting them back under the limit, so they'll have to come back and ask for a vote of the people to exceed them. Now, also part of this plan is to keep the aggregate growth of ag land valuations to 3%. And that is something that will help smooth out these large valuation spikes we've seen in ag land valuations over the course of the last several years. And the Department of Revenue is expecting that we'll see another statewide increase of 8%. So if we can pass this legislation, we will control that down to about 3%.
You know, there certainly will be other proposals aimed at farmland valuations. Are you willing to collaborate and work with senators? Certainly has to go through the legislative process from here.
Yeah, certainly there's going to be a lot of ideas on property taxes, and we're willing to talk with folks about those ideas. The advantage that this proposal has is that I've already worked with the chair of the Revenue Committee and the chair of the Education Committee, and it's already accounted for in my budget.
You know, and that's an important industry that we need to look out for.
Yeah, absolutely, and that was one of the points I tried to make in the State of the State, was that agriculture is our number one industry here in Nebraska, and that when we see pressure on our farmers and ranchers because property taxes have gone up and up while commodity prices have stayed flat or gone down, that puts pressure on our largest industry, and that in turn is going to put pressure on the overall state economy. So what we saw, for instance, in the last recession is one of the reasons Nebraska did so well is because agriculture was doing so well. And we need to make sure that the rest of the state knows that it's important that if we're going to grow Nebraska, we have to grow agriculture.
I do want to ask you about ethanol. You've been a vocal supporter of ethanol, the renewable fuel standard, and I understand kind of a unique opportunity to work with other governors to now promote ethanol. Can you tell me about that?
Yep, I'm going to be on the vice chair, with the chair being Governor Jamie Nixon from Missouri, as far as the governor's biofuel board. And what that board does is really goes out and promotes biofuels. Had a key role in getting the EPA to not slash the renewable fuels as much as they originally proposed.
And on the livestock sector, I know you've read the white paper that the University of Nebraska put out a couple of years ago. Do you continue to see some growth potential in livestock and working with lawmakers to maybe do some legislation that'd be favorable towards encouraging that?
Livestock is a great example of value-added agriculture. And of course, cattle, for instance, is the number one industry here in the state, bar none. And we are the number one state for cattle on feed. So we want to make sure we continue to encourage people to layer in livestock as part of their overall agricultural plan, because that helps create that value-added agriculture that will grow our state.
All right, Governor, thanks so much.
Great. Thank you very much, Steve.
Weather's up next, and you're going to want to stick around. Later in the show, we head to Amherst to meet our outstanding farm youth.